are these people?
We've debunked plenty of lies about October 7th on this channel before, particularly the 40 beheaded babies hoax and others. You know, we've talked about the Hannibal directive and the implications there, but you recognize this guy, Care Bear? Well, you're gonna. So that is, we'll get to his name in just a second, but he is one of the key 7th October mass rapes witness, denounced as a liar by Israeli reporters. So this is from Ali Abunimah over at the Electronic Intifada, right? And we're going to talk about Rami Davedian, the Davidian. Can you just go with David? Why is it got to be weird? Why you got to put Davidian? Davidian. Just quit that. Y'all got to get your names better over there. But an Israeli man who claimed to have heroically rescued hundreds of people from Hamas on the 7th of October has been exposed as an outright liar who made up stories from beginning to end. Funny how that works with them. The debunking of Rami Davidian's fabrications by a high-profile mainstream Israeli journalist is highly significant, but it comes a year after the Electronic Intifada concluded from its own investigations that Davidian's self-aggrandizing accounts were replete with inconsistencies, impossibilities, and lies. So Davidian, who was a star witness in Sheryl Sandberg's 7th October atrocity propaganda film Screams Before Silence, also claimed to have seen dozens of dead victims of alleged rapes on that day, some with objects inserted into their genitals. Raviv Drucker, a journalist with Israel's Channel 13, revealed that his network was set to air an expose of Davidian's lies in the coming days. The broadcast was, however, canceled after a promo trailing the report caused public backlash. So, we're going to, today in the early afternoon, the CEO of Channel 13, Elmiano Kalesmukzik, called and said that he decided not to broadcast the segment on Rami Davidian that was scheduled to be broadcast on Sunday. Drucker revealed Friday in a post on Twitter, "This is the first time that we spoke on the topic." Drucker said, "I told him that it would be a grave error." So we're going to listen to Ali Abunimah here in a second from the EI, Indie Media Award honoree, as well as the EI itself. So we're going to listen to a bit of this, and they're going to explain more. Again, viewer discretion advised just because of discussion of sexual violence, but not much you haven't heard on this channel before, but we'll play.
This is a clip of a man called Rami Davidian, who claims to have single-handedly rescued hundreds of people from that supernova rave on October 7th.
ראיתי בחורות קשורות עם הידיים פודס. רצח אותם, אנס אותם, תעלל בהם, פה בעצים האלה. הרגליים שלהם היו פתוחות. מי שאמר את זה יודע שהתעללו בבנות. מישהו הפשיט אותם, מישהו אנס אותם. וחידרו לעברים הפנימיים שלהם כל מיני דברים. כמו קרשים, כמו ברזלים. מעל 30 בנות נרצחו ונאנסו פה. הייתי צריך לסגור את הרגליים שלהם, לחסות את הגופות שלהם. שאף אחד לא יראה מה שאני ראיתי. אף אחד. אף אחד לא יכול לראות דברים כאלה.
It's okay. I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, just to summarize for those who are listening and couldn't read the subtitles. So Rami Davidian, they're standing in the forest where this supernova rave took place, and he claims that he saw women tied to trees who had been raped, who had been burned, who had had objects like iron rods and wooden boards inserted into their private parts. And then he says that I mean, no one else was around, according to him. It was just him. And then he says what he did is that if their legs, again, I'm sorry about how graphic this is, but if their legs were spread, he closed their legs, he covered everything up, and he said so no one else could see. No one else could see. So what's interesting about that is if we are to believe what he's saying, then he is admitting that he actually tampered with a major crime scene in order to destroy the evidence of the things he says he saw so that no one else could ever see them. And that turns out to be very convenient indeed, because Rami Davidian is a huge liar.
I know you have more to say about him, Rami Davidian, and some of these other characters that we just saw in that in those clips. But let's start with those claims themselves. Why do you think they are not credible?
Right. First, let's go back to that UN report again by Pramila Patten, the UN Secretary General's special representative on sexual violence and armed conflict. And here's what it says about the claims about objects being inserted into people's private parts. This is paragraph 65 of the report, which actually rejects a number of the most prominent Israeli atrocity claims about October 7th. But look at that last sentence. It says, quote, allegations of objects found inserted in female genital organs also could not be verified by the mission team due in large part to the limited availability and low quality of imagery. And then this is paragraph 47 of the same UN report, which addresses the claims about the positions in which bodies were allegedly observed. It points to, quote, erroneous interpretations of the state of bodies by some volunteer first responders without relevant qualifications and expertise. Some examples include mistaking post-mortem pugilistic posturing, a boxer-like body posture with flexed elbows, clenched fists, spread legs, and flexed knees due to burn damage as indicative of sexual violence, misinterpreting anal dilation due to post-mortem changes as indicative of anal penetration, and mischaracterizing grazing gunshot wounds to genitalia as targeted genital mutilation using knives. End quote.
Any questions? Not necessarily. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly upset at the suppression of his team's work. Let's do this and then this and this. Drucker went on to describe how meticulously the report was prepared and to characterize what it reveals about Davidian's claims. These are not slight exaggerations, mildly inflating the number of those rescued. Absolutely not, Drucker wrote. These are stories made up from beginning to end, hair-raising stories that never, ever occurred. Drucker notes that Davidian's claims of rescuing Israelis were quoted in a reputable film, in newspapers across the world, and in an important book. The EI had already exposed Davidian's lies almost a year ago when it debunked Screams Before Silence, likely the reputable film to which Drucker refers. The Sandbag film was promoted as a documentary film on the sexual violence committed by Hamas, but this writer exposed it as a total fraud on the EI livestream for the 1st of May. The EI also concluded from inconsistencies in his accounts that Davidian had fabricated a superhero-like account of rescuing an Israeli woman tied to a tree by Hamas. You can watch the segments specific to Davidian's in the video at the top of this page. Guess what? We're going to do so. So here is that bit of footage. Yay. Shout out to the great work from the EI.
Also said he wanted to talk more about Rami Davidian, the man we saw just a few minutes ago who claimed to see women tied to trees and various objects inserted into them.
Yes. Interestingly, Rami Davidian has already told his story, or rather stories, since the versions seem to change constantly. And here he is, for example, featured on a website called Humans of Tel Aviv, giving his account of October 7th. He is identified not as a first responder like in the Sandberg film, but as a farmer from Moshav Patish, a Zionist colonial settlement a few miles east of the boundary with Gaza. In that account, Davidian claims that he helped rescue hundreds of people from the supernova rave, including one young woman in particular. And this is what he's quoted as saying. I got a location from Rotem, one of the girls who escaped the party, and she texted me that she was hiding behind a tree. I drove to her location, honking my car so she could hear me approaching her. When I got to her location, I saw she was surrounded by 5 terrorists. I didn't flinch and shouted at them in Arabic, Ahlan, my name is Abu Rami, I'm Muslim, and it's better that you give the girl to me and escape from here as fast as you can because the whole area is full of armed security forces. I wasn't afraid, it was pure instincts. Luckily, they thought I was a Bedouin, and because they were already on the run, they gave me the girl to me and ran off, end quote. Now, I found that Davidian has told this story, this version of the rescue, countless times in interviews. But he also gave his account in a video posted on the YouTube channel of the World Mizrahi Organization in December. It's a 5-minute video, but we're just going to watch a short clip where he tells the tale of his heroic rescue of that woman.
קלטתי מספר בנות, הם אמרו לי שחברה שלהם תקועה תחת איזשהו ואדי באיזשהו מקום, ולא היה קליטה, קשה מאוד להגיע אליה. והיא בוכה, מתחננת, שאני
She
אציל.
cried, begging me to save her. Then I said, fine, I'll start honking with the car.
מתגבר, את מכוונת אותי, כן, כן, כן.
The louder gets, you can direct me.
ראית אותה עם
I started running. I saw her with 5 or 6 men.
ילדים.
I looked to the sides. I saw weapons.
לא יודע מאיפה
Then I realized they were terrorists. I don't know where. I found a pipeline of a sprinkler. Only farmer knows what that is. I put her in the car, brought her to my house, and once again I returned to the area. It's a miracle that this woman was saved in your merit. I don't want that merit. I don't ever want that merit.
עשיתי את זה בזכות.
As you can see there, Rami Davidian is really good at turning on the waterworks in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to read the English subtitles again for those who are listening rather than watching. He says, in one case, I rescued several girls. They told me their friend was stuck in a wadi in the middle of nowhere. There was no cell phone reception. It was very difficult to reach her. And she cried, begging me to save her. Then I said, fine, I'll start honking with the car. And the louder it gets, you direct me. Yes, yes, yes. I managed to reach her. I started running. I saw her with 5 or 6 men. I looked to the sides. I saw weapons. Then I realized they were terrorists. I don't know where I got the strength from. I found a pipe of a sprinkler. Only a farmer knows what that is. I managed to knock them to the ground. I put her in the car, brought her to my house, and once again returned to the area. It's a miracle that this woman was saved. I don't want that merit. I don't ever want that merit. I didn't do it for the merit, end quote. So as you can see there, what you immediately notice there is that these accounts are very different. In the first one, he somehow scares off the 5 armed terrorists who've supposedly come to kill everyone in sight just by scolding them in Arabic. He doesn't say anything about fighting them off with a pipe. He just managed to either charm them or scare them or convince them by pretending to be a Muslim. He is in fact Jewish, but he says he pretended to be a Muslim. In the second story, he heroically knocks 5 armed terrorists, as he calls them, to the ground with nothing but a piece of pipe.
Right.
I mean, what do you think? How credible is that?
I've watched a lot of movies.
Right. This is like a script from a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So he's clearly not a very credible witness. And it's also notable that in the vast majority of his interviews that I saw, Davidian makes no claims whatsoever about seeing any signs of sexual violence. The earliest instance I could find of Davidian claiming to have seen anything related to sexual violence, the kind of things he describes to Sheryl Sandberg, date from early February, 4 months after October 7th, in a report from the Association of Rape Crisis Centers in Israel, an organization that has played a key role in trying to launder the mass rape hoax. And the last thing I'll say about Rami Davidian is that even if he can't keep his stories straight, he does seem to be enjoying the limelight. He's become a sort of a minor celebrity in Israel, doing speaking events like this one in April, where for the price of 60 shekels, that's about $15, you can go and listen to him tell his tales of heroism. And he's even gone on a speaking tour of Italy recently.
Right, except he doesn't want any merit. As he says.
No, a very, very modest character.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So nice of him to get all those accolades, though, you know? I do believe you also saw him in those places in New York that talked about, the October 7th remembrance things, whatever those were. He showed up to a few of those. But yeah, I mean, just a liar of the first degree. So, ever since the 7th of October, according to Channel 13's Drucker, Davidian has turned his stories into an industry, taking part in paid lecture tours in Israel and abroad, as well as fundraising campaigns. In perhaps hundreds of interviews, Drucker wrote, Davidian repeats over and over again stories that simply never happened. Davidian's debunked claims are also cited in a report by an all-party group of British lawmakers. The 7th October Parliamentary Commission report purports to meticulously document the grisly fates of the 1,182 people killed by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The parliamentary report cites Davidian's stories as told to Sandberg as part of its evidence, giving his lies a veneer of official credibility. To date, there is not a single positively identified victim, living or dead, of the alleged mass rapes on the 7th of October. As the EI has reported, since the early weeks of the genocide in Gaza, Israel's mass rape narrative is atrocity propaganda. It is rooted in racist stereotypes of colonized and subjected peoples, similar to the routinely fabricated accusations of the rape of white women used for decades to justify the lynchings of black men across the United States. Were they wrong?
Anyone?
The handful of other eyewitnesses to the 7th of October rapes or crime scenes gave accounts that collapsed completely under scrutiny, and there was a major scandal after the New York Times published a notorious December 2023 article which contained multiple debunked claims of rape. Nor is Davidian the first grifter allegedly seeking money and fame from the mass rape hoax, with Drucker's exposure of Davidian's lies only the latest, about 7th of October, to be debunked. There is no excuse for Western media and politicians to keep parroting propaganda whose only purpose is to incite or attempt to justify Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people. So wait.
Except they do.
Wait, this just in. I'm getting reports of Davidian's. He's telling me he wants to tell people why he's done this. Oh, that makes sense. Got it. He's a liar. That makes perfect sense. Well, closing thoughts? Anything you got?
Rewarding. I don't even want to say bad behavior because bad just makes it sound like a child. But
yeah, it's an understatement. You know?
No, it's such an understatement. But this man is disgusting in the truest sense of the word. Like, yeah, I remember seeing those interviews. He and all looked like a demon, like in all. So it's just kind of like the idea that. And I would say allegedly, but no, but he prided himself on what he did. And now the thing is, I haven't seen him get major play here.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing. But,
right.
But, and I think that there's a reason why. It's because it's so obvious, like, he's taking pride in the crimes that he has committed. And he's essentially getting away with it. Like,
yeah,
I don't think anyone wants that on their conscience. Anyone that has any morals.
What's the Mossad motto? Lying in a way of warfare. This comes after, like, we saw, what was the recent Oscar film? No Other Land. Right after that, suddenly there's an Oscar push for this. Jewish women in Israel being, like harassed in way, it's the same lies that are said here, I'm sure. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just information warfare, but part of our duty is to push back on that and give you guys the truth, so that's the way that goes.
You better say Free Palestine.
And saying Free Palestine, turns out, gets you demonetized from YouTube and Google's algorithm. So if you would like to support us outside of that system, you can scan that QR code on your screen. Go to ko-fi.com/indienewsnetwork. If you would like to, links are in the description below, as well as other ways to support us monetarily are also there if you so wish. But we get it, times are tough. Like and subscribe, share the video, send this to your friends who think that is still real. Leave a comment, let us know what other lies we're missing, and thanks for watching.